He's like, yeah, so she was in a car accident and the police got involved and she is not who she said she was. And we're like, and now me and my cousin-in-law looking like, girl, you know.
Hello, welcome back to Zenpath Radio. I am your host, Ryan San. We have a very special show for you today. I'm sitting down with Shari, Seawright, owner of CamTon Transport, operating out of Birmingham, Alabama. We're going to be discussing everything from brokers to how to maximize the usage of your vehicles to increase your annual revenue. So you're not going to miss this interview. If you enjoy this series of interviews and you find them enlightening, please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps us out. And drop questions below. We would try to answer them in future interviews. So before we dive into the interview, for all you NEMT founders out there, I want to personally tell you about Zenpath, our new dispatching software. Zenpath is modern day dispatching software. It makes scheduling and dispatching so much easier. Customize your boards and layouts that best suits your company. Zenpath is 100% free. So if you are a new NEMT company that's on a budget, or if you're a large NEMT company, we have a solution for you. We'll be releasing updates daily. You just do not want to miss those updates. So if you're interested in trying Zenpath out for yourself, we will be dropping a link in the comments below. Let us know what you think. We would love to hear from you all. So without further ado, Shari, welcome to Zenpath Radio. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. How's your day? Busy day today?
Not today. Today is like an extra admin day, I call it, to where I can relax and kind of do what I want to do today. So, but that includes work also, you know, logging in and keeping up with different things. So
work never stops, right?
Working never stops. Working never stops.
Never stops.
Entrepreneur, yes.
So I was going through your TikTok, and one of the videos I've seen, it said you get up. It said starting driving at 4:40 a.m. I was mind blown. Tell me about that. Do you normally start at 4:40 a.m.?
Okay, so we do dialysis. Dialysis is the main part of transportation that we do. Okay. And so our first appointment on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they go 3 days a week. Is at our first pickup is at 4:40 because the center opens at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that means that on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get ready to go ahead and do that trip. And then I have a 4:40 and I have a 5:30. I do have a driver. So my driver, he starts at 6:30. So I just do those trips. I go back home. I might go to sleep. I might go, just come back and do some work, or, the phone starts ringing around 6 o'clock and I'm sending out texts and all these things, letting people know their driver's on the way. So, but yeah, so it's not too bad. I do get up that early, but I can go back home and go to sleep and let my driver work until the afternoon when he's off. So it's not too bad, but I am not a morning person, or I would say I was not a morning person.
I wonder, would that be considered? Would that be considered? Do you go to sleep that night? I mean, I guess you do probably go to sleep, but I mean, is that considered like, staying awake late? If you go home afterwards and you go to sleep, right? You probably take a break. So do you normally have like a long break in between that, or you just like quick break and then you continue driving like maybe an hour later?
No, because my driver gets off, he does the morning shift.
Okay.
Right now, I don't have enough people in the afternoon to do like to hire someone in the afternoon. So I do that afternoon shift. So anywhere between 1:30 and like 12:30 and 1:30, just depending on what I have doing. I might have a meeting in between there. I might do lunch with someone, things like that. So I can go to the office during that time. It's just, I love the flexibility. Yes.
Absolutely. Seems like a huge perk. Perk. What time are you normally done for the day?
Normally I'm done for the day around our last pickup is like 4:30 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. We close at 6. We could have a hospital discharge or something like that. We could have someone that has an appointment in between so we do dialysis, and I work between the dialysis trips as far as individual trips. Mm-hmm. So that means that for one, we don't want people waiting for a long time after their trip. So if I can't get to the person within 20 minutes of them calling and saying they're ready, then I won't take the trip in the afternoon, because like I said, we have dialysis pickups, and then I'll take people to work also. I take people to work, people with special needs that are employed, but they don't drive. So I take them to work too. So, once we're done with that and I go and I gas the van up, I'm usually done about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening.
I see. So a full day.
Full day.
So Shari, you've been in the industry for 10 plus years in the NEMT industry.
Yeah.
So do you mind sharing with us what you were doing before you started your business?
Okay. So I'm in Birmingham now, but I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area. I've lived there my whole life, with the exception of when I went away to college. I went to college in South Carolina, and then I moved back home. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., and my first experience in the NEMT industry was working in a call center, and it was for a broker. It was called, the call center was called Where's My Ride? I literally just took the job. My cousin-in-law at the time got me the job. She was working there, and I was teaching preschool, and so I just wanted to change. So I applied for the job. I got it, just simply taking calls. It was, hey, where's my ride? Really, where's my driver? I've been waiting for 30 minutes. Where's my driver? People scheduling rides and things like that. And then within 6 months, I was promoted to quality assurance representative. And in that role, I was the only African-American, and I was the youngest in that position in the whole entire company. Okay. Wow. So I held that role for about a year, and then I left and went into the federal government, where I started working doing FMLA. And I did that for 10 years. I relocated here to Birmingham in 2017. And I took about 6-7 months off where I wasn't working. And then I started working as a community health worker for a local agency here. And that's when I found myself coordinating transportation again. And that's actually what got me the job, because they were like, oh, we need someone with experience in coordinating transportation. Coming from DC, you can get on a bus, you can get on a train, and you can go pretty much anywhere you want to go. Mm-hmm. That is not so here in Birmingham, Alabama. So immediately I realized that I'm spending 90% of my day trying to find people rides to go to the doctor.
Wow.
Okay. These were people who were hospitalized, that they just were diagnosed. They had no idea that they even had a chronic illness, and they had no way to go to the doctor for their follow-up appointment. I found myself telling people I had no way for them to go to chemo. I found myself telling people I had no way for them to go to get their medicines for diabetes, Mm-hmm. And I come from a very compassionate family. My mother worked with the homeless for years. Just as a side note, I mean, we really are in the community. And with her working in the homeless, we even slept outside once a year with the homeless. And people always think that is a crazy story. And it was, because I was 8 years old, and I swore they picked the coldest night in the year to have us out there. It was like an annual thing. Okay. But it taught me a lot. It taught me that you don't want to be outside. You want to do whatever you can do, and I would beg my mother, say, can we please just go inside the car just for 10 minutes and turn the heat on, and she'll say, the people who are actually homeless can't go anywhere. They have to experience this.
Right.
And it's not just one night, so it taught me that homelessness can happen to anybody, and everybody can help. So if you can, then, so to go back to what I was saying, I found myself telling people, if I could put you in my car, I would. People sitting outside waiting hours in the rain and the cold and the heat for their ride. And I just felt it started to take a moral toll on me. I felt like I was doing my job, but I wasn't really doing my job. And it became too much. And I said, you know what? I have experience in this. Let me see what I can do to actually start my business.
So let me ask you a question. Well, in Birmingham, are we talking about Birmingham, or are we talking about all of Alabama? Right? Because why is it that this service is so scarce in that area? I mean, is there a reason behind it?
Yeah, Alabama in general, transportation is an issue, because there are no trains and buses. Birmingham does have buses, mm-hmm. But they don't run like how they only run, I believe, within the city of Birmingham. So anyone who lives outside of the city of Birmingham, mm-hmm. they don't have access.
But is it is regulations one of the biggest issues? It's hard to get up and running in Alabama, or what is it?
I don't know what the issue is, actually. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that the region, there's a greater regional Birmingham something. They do a report, and they just show that over 60% of people can't get to the doctor because they don't have transportation. 60% of people
That's
just in the
unbelievable.
Birmingham area, and just nationally it's 3.4 million people who miss or delay medical care because they don't have transportation.
Wow.
So CamTon Transport is a local solution to a national problem. I mean, when I got into this, I mean, I knew that it was an issue, but when I started doing my research, and I'm like, wow, people really can't. And then when you look at the trickle down effects, the doctors, they can't see their patients, you know, they're not getting paid, I guess, you know, in that way, they're not really helping the community. Nobody's really being cared for, because if they can't simply get to the doctor, first of all, to prevent illness, just for wellness visits, but let alone once they're diagnosed with a chronic illness that they had no idea that they had until they felt a sharp pain and just simply said, I got to go to the emergency room. And then they end up having some type of surgery. You're giving them all this medication that they cannot get, they cannot afford. They can't even get to the doctor to follow up once they're discharged. I mean, it's a trickle down effect where it's another way that people are dying. You know, if you look at the stats, Alabama is one of the most unhealthy states in the country. Wow. You know, so I'm really passionate about helping our community, and that's our mission. Our mission is to help our community maintain and improve their health.
I see. Yeah. So was you having that exposure the reason why you got into the industry to begin with? Well, to start your own business, to start your own.
Yes.
Was there a cause and effect that happened, or why not just work for?
I felt like I could do more because my primary job was not to coordinate transportation. It was to do home visits. It was to go to the hospitals. It was to deliver food. It was to do, you know, all these things. But I couldn't even do all those things because all day long, people are calling saying they need a ride. And I had to find them a ride because that was part of my job, you know. So it became too much. And when you go into people's homes and you connect with them, and you hear their issues and you feel their pain, like I said, I'm a very compassionate person. If you can't help that person, it takes a toll on you. You know, my supervisors, they were like, well, how many people? They were numbers driven. How many people did you call? How many people did you see? How many people did you say food baskets to? And that's it. You know, and then it's a 30-day turnaround. It's like, okay, well, next group of people, you know, and you just, I don't, if I can help somebody, that's how I was raised. If I can help somebody, I'm going to help somebody. And I just felt like I'm more beneficial to people starting my own business. And with that, one of my clients that I had when I was working as a community health worker is one of my regular riders now. When she found out I had my business, she called me and she was like, Miss Shari, my social worker told me about you and I want to ride with you. And she's been riding with me for over a year now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So do you think that most up and coming aspiring NEMT owners should work for an NEMT company or in the industry before they actually create their own practice? I just feel like, I mean, judging by your experience, you know, you say you were working in the industry, you got that firsthand knowledge. It just seems like it's like a very like chicken and the egg kind of thing, right? Because there's, you know, aspiring founders, right, that want to get started in the industry. They want to gain that knowledge, right? But maybe they have to go through, you know, the approval process, like a waiting period for approval, to pay for insurance, right? They have to do a lot of different things that take time and money from them. But there's also on the other side, there's NEMT companies that's already up and running that are always looking for drivers, right? So it just seems like the perfect learning opportunity for both parties to help each other out. What do you think? Do you think it's like a great idea for aspiring?
I think it depends, because we live in a time now where there are a lot of coaches. There are a lot of people that can take you through that experience. They can tell you everything you need from A to Z. And you can, I mean, you can do a checklist and say, okay, well, I need this. However, I always think that hands-on experience trumps everything. Okay. So while I had the experience in this industry and I had the background, I still connected with another transportation provider that let me ride with his driver during the day to show me how to do the wheelchairs. Now I know how to strap wheelchairs in because doing quality assurance, I had to make sure that the drivers were doing it correctly. That's one of the stories that we'll get into.
Yeah.
I had to, check and make sure they had their IDs, make sure people were strapped in correctly. So I have knowledge of that, but not from a driver point of view.
I see.
You can learn, like I said, you can find a coach and they can tell you the checklist, but they're speaking from an owner point of view, not from a driver point of view, so that's why I don't mind doing the driving, because I'm learning as I go. I'm learning what works and what doesn't work. And I'm thankful for that experience that other provider let me, he was like, are you ready? He was the first one to tell me. He was like, are you ready to get up? He said 5 o'clock in the morning. You ready to get up 5 o'clock in the morning and go all day until 7? Okay, but yes, I literally was out there in his parking lot waiting for his driver at 4:45 in the morning, But yeah, so I feel like if you can find a combination of experience, that would be great. I'm not going to say either or is better, because this industry is so open and there's so many ways that you can run an NEMT business that you really have to just find your own stride and see what works for you. But I would definitely, I would do ride-alongs. I would do coaching. I still do coaching. I'm about to sign up for someone. She's doing and I just like to learn from other people and make sure that I'm on the right track. It's nothing. If anyone, don't think that you know everything.
Absolutely.
You don't know everything,
Absolutely.
And so always be willing to learn from other people.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely agree with what you're saying. So tell me, how did you come up with the name CamTon? I see it everywhere, especially with the yellow, it really pops. But I see CamTon, it's camel case. So tell me, like, where did that name, originate from?
So CamTon is a combination of, and you got it right, my son's name is Cameron and my godson's name is Aston. So I combined their names and came up with CamTon Transport.
I see.
That also gives me a different kind of drive, because, in our community, we don't really have trust fund babies, I want my son and my godson. My son right now is in school. He's going into his sophomore year for business administration. So my goal is to have him, when he graduates, to run the company. Okay. My godson, of course, if I want to expand, we'll get into that later on, but I want him to be able to work in the company. I want him to be able to say, this is something that was built for me. So that is my basis for combining the name. It gives me something else to stand on. If you see, I think I have a video where I talked about, I have sickle cell plates. My son has sickle cell disease. And so everything is, I had the sickle cell plates. Everything is based around my son and my godson. This is their future here. So that's where the name CamTon comes from. Yeah, Cameron and Aston. Yeah. It's
a passion. It's a passion.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So when, from the time that you had the idea of, I'm gonna start an NEMT company, to actually scheduling your first trip, how long did that process normally take in between?
Okay, now my path was different, because I started in 2019, September 2019, and then COVID happened a few months later. So I couldn't go into the nursing homes. A lot of the doctor's offices were closed. The only thing that was running was dialysis. The going through you have to go through the city of Birmingham and get your license in and everything was closed. You couldn't do that. It was an appointment only basis. So, even shopping for vans, I was like on a 6-month hold pretty much until things started to open back up gradually. So I used that time to work, save money. I had that expensive insurance, because you have to have that before you apply for anything. Wow. So I had to pay for that insurance out of pocket. And I would say, let me see, I got the van in August of 2020, finally. And like I said, you have to go through the city of Birmingham. I was connected with a councilman that pretty much allowed me to go and speak in front of the city council and tell them about CamTon Transport. And that was in October of 2020. My first ride was a couple weeks later.
Okay.
And I got my first ride because when I opened up my business bank account and I was speaking to the banker about what I was doing, he said, "Do you have a card?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I have a friend at the VA. I can give her this card. She could probably use it." I said, "Okay." People say cards all the time. I didn't think anything of it, but she called me and gave me my first customer. So that's why I say that networking and word of mouth is so essential.
You just never know who you're running to,
You just
right?
never know. You just never know. And she called me, and the man that I picked up, they had someone to come into the emergency room. He had no way home. He lived an hour and a half from Birmingham, from the VA hospital. He woke up 4:00 in the morning and hitchhiked to downtown Birmingham because he was in so much pain.
Wow.
And that was my first customer. And he was like, "I don't know how I would have gotten home. I don't know, he was like, you are just a godsend." So I never saw him again before, but that was my first ride.
I see. So what I'm hearing from you is basically to always be prepared. And also, you should carry around, I'm guessing, business cards all the time, right? Is that the ideal thing to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have business cards and I also have flyers that I leave out. Now, with me having that community health worker, social worker role, I already knew doctors' offices that I could work with. I had that relationship with them. So I had that edge. And so when I started and I got my flyers, I went to those doctors and I said, "Hey, I know you haven't seen me in a while, but can I leave my flyers here for your patients?" And they said yes. And so that's how I started to get, and then I would also go and hang out in parking lots of doctor's offices. And when I saw someone walking back to their car, mainly people who were taking someone else, I would say, "Hey, my name is Shari Seawright. This is my business." I would ride around in my van. At that time, I had car magnets. I didn't have my lettering on my van, but I would say, "I provide transportation for people to medical appointments in Birmingham. Take my information." I would just catch them in the parking lot. I haven't really left flyers on people's cars because I just don't really kind of like that, but it is effective.
Yeah.
Actually, today's Saturday. Thursday, I was dropping someone off at an appointment and someone thought that I was their ride, and they came up and they said, "I've been waiting for my ride. Are you my ride?" And I said, "No, but here, take my card." They called me yesterday and scheduled their next ride. So, I mean, it's literally
that fast, huh?
That fast.
Having that fast. Wow.
Yes, and you have to be prepared, like you said. So I carry around cards and flyers with me all the time. If I go into the grocery store, I'm leaving them at self-checkout. I'm leaving them, all types of places.
A lot of people would think, walking up to, a faculty member or another, transporter, they think, maybe handing out a flyer, they don't want to be a pest or they don't want to, come off in a rude way. But I don't think it's necessarily like that, right? I mean, some people they'll be surprised. They're pretty open and love to, probably love to hear what you're saying, right?
Especially because they know the need. So a lot of times when I tell people what I do, they're like, "Oh, yes, I'll take it." It might even be a receptionist at the desk, but they'll take it. Right now, it's someone, I don't know who it is at UAB, but I want to thank them. They are sending me every time when people call and it's their first time speaking, I ask them, "How did they hear about us?" I've gotten so many people in the last couple of weeks to say, "Oh, I got your number from the person at UAB." They never say the person's name. So I don't know who it is because I give and let me tell you this. I was door dashing to pay that insurance during the time.
I was actually going to ask you. Yeah.
I was door dashing, but I was door dashing in the van, and I kept my flyers with me. And I strategically chose to door dash downtown in the UAB area because those are the people that's ordering lunch. They're going to come outside, they're going to see the van. And while I'm giving them their food, I'm like, "Oh, and just let you know, I provide transportation to medical appointments. I don't know what you do, but here it's just a real quick conversation." And that's like, "Oh, thank you." So whoever I've been giving my stuff to at UAB that has been spreading my name around, thank you.
And they will even see it, like you said, they'll see it on the van too. They'll see it on the van. So if you see it, you remember it, right? Because was the van yellow? Was the van yellow at the time? The van
has always been black, but the lettering and what's funny is I wanted a white van to go with the logo. And when I went to my dealer, he said, "You're gonna love a black van." And I said, "I don't want black, I don't want." And he was like, "I'm telling you." And I showed him my logo. He said, "Oh yeah, You're gonna want this.
What color is the logo? What color is the logo?
The color is blue, green, and yellow. Those are the brand colors.
Blue, green, and yellow. So it pops, right? It pops.
It pops against that black.
Exactly. Yeah. So when people see that when you're delivering the food, it's like
it stands out.
They keep seeing it. They're like, okay, you know, like I keep seeing this CamTon. I see, you know, what is this? What is this? You know?
Yes.
That's awesome. That's a great strategy. Great strategy.
Yeah.
So when you were getting started, was insurance a big hurdle for you?
Insurance, I was prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the provider that pretty much walked me through the process, he told me to be prepared to pay at least $1,200 to $1,300 a month. So I already had that in my mind. Okay. I was still working, like I was doing part-time jobs and, you know, things like that. Like I said, door dashing. Mm-hmm. But I was prepared for that shock, you know. So yeah, I started out paying $1,300 a month.
Wow.
For that insurance.
Why does aspiring NEMT owners have such a difficulty with insurance? I just see tons of questions about insurance. But why is it that's the main? Why does most people getting started have issues with insurance? What do you think?
I think because they're not prepared for how much the insurance will be. I mean, my personal insurance, I have, and I'm blessed to have a perfect driver record. I don't have any tickets, no, anything like that. So my personal insurance is only like $150 a month. But nobody's prepared for that. I think it's more like the shock value of it. I see it all the time too. They're telling me this insurance is going to be $33,000 a year. Is that normal? And it just depends on where you are, but yeah, I know people that pay $1,800 a month, $1,900 a month, per van. Wow. But then I know somebody that pays $700 a month for 3 vans. So it just all depends on, I think, how old your vans are, who your insurance provider is. My insurance has gone down to under $1,000 now. I don't know if that's because just the longer I'm in business and I don't have any accidents or anything like that. I don't know, but it's a blessing. But it's still right at. I mean, it's under 1,000, but I mean, it's almost right at 1,000. But it's under 1,000. So I think that's the one thing that nobody expects the insurance to be that high for one. And then a lot of people, they're like, how can I afford this? Because you have to have the insurance before you can do any rides. Before you apply for brokers, before you get contracts with different facilities, they want to know, even with the city of Birmingham, you have to have your insurance before they'll even give you your license to operate.
Could you get insurance maybe it's not the best quote, but you can get insurance at least to have it, so you can start your process of moving forward in the founding process, and then continuously shop for better rates. Is that a great option?
Now when I was shopping for rates, they said that I couldn't go into a new contract unless my previous contract was canceled or something like that. So it's like once you're locked in, once you have that, then you're locked in for a year. And then at the end of that year, from what I understand, it may be different in different states, but in Alabama, you have to be, and I've talked to other insurance people outside of Alabama too that cover Alabama, and they're like, I can't do anything for you until your current plan is up. So I believe that you're locked into that rate for a year across the board. But what makes it so high is some states require 1.5 million, but most of them require $1 million of insurance. And most people don't have $1 million of insurance on their car, so they don't realize how much that will break down to, a month. And then they're like, I don't have any customers. How am I going to pay this? And then that's where a lot of people struggle with that. Because they don't know. I believe it. I think it's the shock value. Nobody's really prepared. So if I could say anything, I would say going into this business, save up, if not, and figure out what your overhead could be. Go with your highest. If you want to say, okay, my insurance is going to be $1,500, I need at least for 3 months. And then the down payment for the insurance is high too. So not only do you have that monthly premium, but you have to make like a 15% down payment or something like that on the insurance. So that can be I just paid $3,600 to renew, for the down payment for my insurance. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your fleet. How many vans are you currently owning?
I have a van and I have an SUV.
Okay.
The SUV was my personal vehicle. I had to go and get the additional insurance on that, and then I have the van. If I had to do it all over again, I would have started with a wheelchair van. But I'm doing pretty good. So yeah, I have that, and I'm actually going when we're done today, I'm going to look at some more vans today.
Awesome. Yes. Expanding.
So I'm hoping to have wheelchair service available by the end of this month.
That's awesome. So is this a profitable industry? How much revenue do you generally bring in annually?
It's profitable. Last year, I think I did like 30,000. This year, at the end of the second quarter, we're already at like 40,000.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And keep growing
and keep growing. Yes, I'm so excited to get this wheelchair van. That is going to be the game changer. Like, I'm so excited for that.
I love it. And at the same time, you know, you are private pay, correct?
I'm private pay, yeah.
You're private pay. So it's way like, well, dealing with brokers, I'm sure they take a huge percentage, but going through private pay, it just you see most of the profits. You can invest it back into the business and stuff like that, right? I see. Yes. So what big expenses do you think aspiring founders generally overlook, right? So whether it's wear and tear or whether it's, you know, like what other expenses are coming out of pocket when it comes to the NEMT industry?
Insurance, labor, and now gas.
Gas.
When I was looking at my numbers the other day, I was spending $500 a month in gas in January. I'm up to like $1,500 in gas a month.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I'm up. Okay. So now gas is starting to go back down, but that was something that I did not expect to deal with. And I really had to make some decisions. I had to make some decisions. I was like, okay, do I go to Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Because those are my dialysis days. Do I cut my driver's hours back? You know, do I full transparency, I went out and got a job in March. I want to say just a part-time job that I was working 3 days a week just to try to cover some of the expenses with the and then my truck was hit. My van was hit by an 18-wheeler in January too. Yes. So it was not the fault. They were the driver. They crossed the yellow line. They weren't even supposed to be going down that road. So it worked out in my favor. I did get a settlement from that. But yeah, so I struggled the first few months of this year. So the job, you know, just it was a lot. It was a lot to do. So but yeah, that the gas, it has been the most surprising expense. But then you have to think about wear and tear too. Oil changes. You're not getting your oil change every 3 months. You're getting your oil change pretty much every month. Tune-ups, tires.
Cleaning. I seen you do a lot of cleaning. Yeah.
Cleaning. I have car wash memberships. That we wash the car at least once a day. And then, you know, cleaning supplies, masks, hand sanitizer, you know. And then another thing that we do is I have a lot of incentives for my customers. So everyone on their first ride gets a gift bag, a thank you. I put a thank you card, it's handwritten, and I tell them thank you for choosing CamTon Transport, you know, because I want people to know that they're appreciated. I appreciate everyone that gets into our vehicle. So, you know, but those are little things, you know, you can always go get a Uline account or something like that and get those materials. But going to Costco, I put snacks and I put hand sanitizer and, you know, just all types of things in there. Marketing materials, you know, if you're aggressive about your marketing, yeah, you know what, that is an expense that a lot of people overlook, the marketing. I read somewhere that the people who spend millions of dollars on those Super Bowl ads, but when you think about how much money they're going to bring in, that's by having that ad. You know, so you really have to throw your money into your marketing, your flyers, your cards, your Google ads, your, you know, you might even want to do advertisements. And also, you know, again, fraternizing with these doctor's offices. I've bought lunch, I've desserts, you know, had those things through DoorDash delivered to those offices, you know, because that's marketing.
Yep.
You know, and so the return on that, I'm going to continue to do that, because these are the people that they'll send me, the people, you know, that they can't serve. And these are other transportation companies too. These aren't just doctors' offices, you know, these are these bigger, I guess, local brokers that they do their transportation, but they might have a driver shortage. They may cut back their hours, you know, and then they're sending CamTon Transport their overflow. So that's all part of marketing. So marketing is a big expense that is best to have a marketing budget. I didn't have a marketing budget at first, but I have one now.
I see. Yeah, I've seen your TikTok of how vital you said the dinner meetups are for you.
Yeah.
And so like you invest, it seems like you invest in personal relationships too. So that's the expense also, like building that personal relationship with, you know, other facilities or other, you know, founders or whatever it may be, right?
Yes, you have to, when people know you personally and you break down that barrier and you make yourself relatable, they're more comfortable with you, and you'll come up in their mind more, you know, when they have this need and they're like, oh, let me call CamTon. I mean, it's something as simple as having pens. You go to a nursing station and you give out pens, and all day they're writing with these pens. It's like you're playing a, I don't want to say playing a mind game, because I don't like to manipulate, but it's kind of, they call it emotional selling. You know, but once they say someone needs to see something 7 times before it's ingrained in their mind, before they can remember it. So if somebody's writing with a pen all day long and they're like, CamTon Transport, okay, you know, I have labels on water bottles that I put in the gift bags, you know, so that when they're drinking this water, CamTon Transport, you know.
Absolutely.
And so all of those things cost money though. So you know, you have to pay for those. Yeah, you have to pay for those, but the return on it is great. Yeah.
Awesome. So prior, we kind of touched on the importance of maximizing the usage of vans, right? Especially when you have like a lot of expenses, you know, early on, you know, maybe you don't, you know, maybe it's, you know, they're not ready for the trips or whatever it may be, but they still have these expenses. So, you know, you do many different things with your vans, right? You don't only just do medical transportation, but you also do trips to doctors. You do trips to shopping, right? And you do other trips too. So what other kind of like, you know, trips do you do generally?
Okay, so again, the grocery shopping is one of the main things, because Birmingham has a lot of food deserts, and I believe that everybody's wondering like, oh, why does everybody get cancer? Why does everybody have diabetes? And it's really the food that we eat is the only thing that we all have in common, is the food that we eat. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter your age, your race, your gender, whatever the case, we're all eating the same food. And that's why cancer and disease spreads. So really, it's about educating and then providing that access to healthy foods. And again, helping our community maintain and improve their health. Okay, so that's the grocery shopping. Errands. I don't know, like my base is people who are 50 years old and older. So a lot of those people, they don't drive. Their kids may work, you know, their kids may live out of state. It might not be best for them to drive, but they still need to go run errands. They still need to go to the bank. They might even have to go to Walmart, you know, something like that. So we do that. Around holiday season, we do rides to do Thanksgiving shopping. We do rides to do Christmas shopping. We do hospital discharges, nursing homes, you know, things like that. This year, I'm hoping to do a lot of people, you know, around the holidays, they want to visit their family, but they don't want to fly. They don't want to get on a bus. So I'm trying to put together a plan, or I'm working on a plan to provide that transportation up to 4 hours. We can go get your relative and bring them to you and take them back. You know, things like that to really just help.
You do work also. You do work trips also, like to and from work?
Yes.
Oh.
So like I said, UAB, they have a vocational program for people with special needs. And so that allows them to work. And so they work Monday through Friday. And we take them to work and we drop them off. There are people who do plastic surgery. You know, everybody's into that BBL life. And, and so, but you need a ride. You need a
Absolutely.
ride, I saw a TikTok where a man, he got a van just like mine. He put an air mattress in the back and he does, they pick people, they can't, you can't sit on your back, So he has the air mattress and you can get into the van and you can lay on your stomach and, and he'll take you home, things like that. It's providers that take kids back and forth to school, to summer camp, so, so I mean, this industry, I think that a lot of people get caught up on just the medical transportation side, which is a need, but transportation is, a need, especially in an area like Alabama, DC, California, and even still, like I said, I got my start in that industry in the DC area. So it's a need, but I mean, just, I listen to your customers. My customers want to go to the casino. They're like, oh, you take people to the casino, things like that. I want to work with, I'm very, I'm a social advancement person, if that's a word or a phrase, but I'm aware of social issues. And one thing I'm passionate about is people who have been incarcerated, they have a barrier when they have to go check in with their parole officers and things like that. How are they going to get there? If they're not there, they're going to get violated. So I'm kind of like, let me get in with the DA so that I can, provide that service, and they can pay me to get these people, to cut that. It's a plethora of
a lot
things
of different verticals
into this.
That's awesome. So it just seems like just get a little creative and don't marginalize yourself. There's many different verticals to take if you have a van, right? So that's awesome. So would you suggest Uber and Lyft as fill-ins, right? So if you're starting out and maybe I know a lot of states you need to have, I think, 3 vehicles to, even if they're deciding to get a broker, they need 3 vehicles to get a broker. So if they're going the private route, the private pay route, and they don't have that initial customer base to kind of sustain themselves, do you suggest, trying Uber or Lyft to kind of fill in the gaps of, the empty schedule?
I would say yes and no. I would say yes because it's a quick solution. You can charge it to your account, you can write it off at tax time, as a business expense, all those things. But when it comes to the legal side and the liability, if this person is booking a trip through you and you put them in a Lyft and that Lyft driver gets into an accident or something happens inside that vehicle with your client, that sounds very messy. Now, do I use Uber and Lyft? Yes. If I'm stuck somewhere, because like I said, I have this 20-minute, I'm not gonna say a guarantee, but I'm gonna turn it into a guarantee to pick you up. I will call a Lyft for my regular customers because they, I know them. I know that they can just get in and out. It's not anybody that has, a walker or anything like that. It's just somebody that can get into the car and get dropped off. I do use it, but I try to minimize that for that liability reason.
Well, no, I'm asking to offer the service under Uber and Lyft, right? So use your van as a driver, to fill in for, slow days.
You mean like having an Uber Lyft driver?
So maybe you don't have a full day, maybe you only have 2 trips today scheduled with your business, right? But you still have this expensive insurance. So you just click on the Uber app and then you can start, doing until you're,
Yeah, that's a good idea. I've never considered that, but that is a good idea just to keep that revenue going. That's a good idea.
It also sounds like, kind of tying into what you were previously doing with DoorDash of still showing that logo on the side, right? So as long as the more that vehicle's on the road showing that logo, like you said, the all black with the popping logo, they're gonna remember that, right? They're gonna remember that more than they remember like
transport picked me up. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I was wondering.
That's a great idea. Actually, I did not think of that. See how it works. Like you switch your mind, and you're just like, you know what, this could work. You know, but yeah, I never considered that. Yeah, I know in California, they contract Uber and Lyft drivers through the brokers. The brokers are going that route, and it's been a big back and forth because the providers are like, well, we have to have this expensive insurance, but then they're using Uber and Lyft, and they don't have to have this expensive insurance. You know, so I see the back and forth. But I can see how it can work for both people. Definitely, I'm not against it, and you know, I'm not for it. I'm kind of in the middle.
Why did you decide not to go with brokers?
I decided not to go with brokers because of my personal experience working with brokers. Now, I'm not going to say all brokers are bad. There are some good brokers. But like I said, having that hands-on experience and then learning from someone else is two different things. Brokers, for one, take a big chunk of your money.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. That's what I've been hearing.
That's the first thing. That's the first thing. The other thing is that from what I've seen, it's a lot of favoritism. The brokers are, and then I don't know if you're in any of the transportation groups on Facebook or anything, but people talk about how they don't get rides, how the routers, they don't send them rides and all those types of things. I'm not going to say the broker that I work with name. I'm very careful with that. But we've had people come in and buy the whole office lunch for a month to get priority for trips. The broker is kind of like if you got the money and we're going to shoot you, you know, these trips. The brokers have a lot of, like you said, you have to have a certain amount of vehicles to get on with them. You know, I started out with one vehicle. But the main thing is that I want to run my business how I want to run my business, meaning that I actually care about people. Yeah. Okay. And so on TikTok, when I go more into my tales from the broker.
We're gonna get to that next. Yeah, I want to hear about that. Yeah. I've been waiting on this.
I have stories to where it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. I cannot believe this happened. Like, what? I'm reading the complaint. So how it happened, the person will file a complaint, it would get submitted to the office, and I would have to read through the whole complaint and see what happened, you know, and try to figure out who was at fault, who was, you know, and what do we do? Now, what I started doing was, in a general rule, if you ever want to get anybody's attention, you affect their money. Yeah. So while I was in that position, it was in the policy to find these drivers. If I pull up, they had me jumping out of bushes to pop up on these drivers and make sure that they had IDs, that they had, you know, it was the right person driving. They might have certain drivers, and then especially in the DC area, you have a lot of undocumented workers. And this was back in 2007. So you had people that say, okay, I have 3 drivers. Okay, these are your 3 drivers. And then when I show up at this site to do my check, and I'm like, who's this driver? This driver isn't on your list. This driver doesn't have a driver's license. This driver doesn't have even a name tag on, you know? And then I had to find them. I said, the only way to get this to stop is I had to find them. And those fines would be $1,500, $5,000 a month for all the violations that I found. So I say all that to say is that I just don't like how the brokers operate. Yeah. They're numbers driven. Again, that's why a lot of people they end up waiting an hour or two, because it's all about volume. If we can get 100 trips a day, no matter how long somebody is waiting, no matter how many people we cram into this van, then let's do it. You know, and that's not how I want to run my business. So it also sounds like if it does, like you said, they're cramming into the vehicle, and if it's a bad experience, right, that gets puts on the NEMT's personal brand, right? That's a you know, black mark on the NEMT brand, not the broker. Exactly. So they don't mind if they give you 100. Exactly. They're not gonna say, oh, the broker, they're gonna say CamTon Transport did this. You know, CamTon Transport always has me waiting, you know, and it's not CamTon Transport fault, it's because they gave me 5 pickups in an hour.
Yeah. So it's
How
always
is
the
that
provider's
possible?
fault.
Yes, exactly. And so you might have the first person that's picked up, they might drive around all town before they're dropped off. So they see where they drop off. It might take them, they wait for an hour for the ride, and then it might still take them another 2 hours to get home. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't, however anybody runs their company, that's up to you, but that's not how I want to run my company, because that's the number one complaint. Either that the driver was late picking them up to go to the appointment, or the driver was late picking them back up to go home.
So a trip with a general, well, the average price for an NEMT trip is generally like $30, right? For a one-way, right? I know there's extra, like, with the extra amount of miles, right? There's extra fees, but the general price is $30, right? For one way.
Right.
Both ways, $60 roughly, right?
Right.
If that was going through a broker, how much would, on average, would a broker normally take, right? Is it like 50%?
So I believe it's with one broker is done in sevens. So, and when I say that, so for 7 miles, you'll get $14. For 28 miles, you'll get maybe $25 or something like that. A lot of them, they don't pay you for wait time. They don't pay you for extra people riding in the vehicle, things like that. I will say that I have a contract with my local Medicaid agency. That's about the closest thing that I do to a broker right now. But I only do a certain amount of trips per month. And then I limit the miles that I travel to make it more cost effective for me.
I see. So you kind of have to strategize it a little bit and then work out.
But I think with someone starting out, I think working with a broker is good, because you kind of get to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. From what I understand, you don't have to take those trips from a broker, but if you don't take those trips, you move further down on the list. So if you're trying to fill those days up, those slow days with volume, you can't really do it because they're not sending you the trips.
It sounds expensive though, honestly, to have 3 vehicles, insurance, wait on the waiting process. So now you're not only worried about insurance, but you also have this fee of 3 vans on you, that's just sitting, sounds like a very expensive. So I'm not an expert, so, but in my eyes, it just seems like private pay is the way to go. It just seems like a very nice and steady way of growing and building your personal, your brand, right? But yeah, so I know I'm very curious to know. You have to tell me about Tales of the Broker.
Okay.
Tales of the Broker. Let's hear it. How did that? Yeah. So what went down?
Tales from the broker, because a lot of people ask why don't I work with brokers? And I just feel like working for that broker, it was just so much going on in the office. The office atmosphere was like the show The Office. You had somebody that was over the top. You had somebody like Dwight that was like, where you going?
I love Dwight.
Yes, The Office is if you could picture, that is the way the office is set up and everything. That is exactly how that office looked. You had somebody who really didn't care about the job, Stanley. You had you had your narrative that was okay, girl, what are you over there doing? It was a family atmosphere. We all cared about each other, at the end of the day. But when that show came out, I was like, oh my goodness, this is how that was. Okay. But then you deal with the actual things that were going on inside, within the industry.
Yeah.
And it would be serious things. It was this politician's son, he had special needs. The driver dropped him off in the projects.
Wow.
Wrong address, didn't even wait to see if he went into the building. And just so happened, it was a drug bust at the exact same time. Can you imagine the mess? This is a politician in Virginia, I can say that.
Yeah.
But yes, his son was dropped off in the projects, left alone. It was the sun was going down. And they were doing a drug bust at the exact same time. And I don't think he got home until the next day. I think the police ended up taking him in. I believe he was nonverbal, and it just took a long time for him to be reconnected with his family. And then you have things that happen, like I said, just with the drivers being late, or someone was running, like the driver was running late, and they showed up to the lady's house, and it was raining outside, and she was trying, they didn't get out and help her into the vehicle. She slipped and fell, and the driver was like, okay, so are you going or not? Like, what are you talking about? And so these are the things that, like you said, you made a very good point a few minutes ago. This doesn't fall on the broker because these people don't know who the broker is. It falls on the transportation company, you know?
Yeah.
But yes, the office life, I mean, it was, that was one of the best jobs I had.
So do you know the character Creed?
Yes. So yes, we had a Creed.
I was going to say, you ran into a Creed because I remember you had a specific story. I don't know if you want to share it with us, but you had a specific story about identity on your TikTok.
Yes.
So you want to tell us briefly about that?
Yes. Okay. So this supervisor, okay, they hire her. All right. And just things kind of, that's interesting. But I am, okay, I work here, but I'm going to mind my business type person, but she came in very friendly, very, very, but like I said, the one thing that stood out about her was her name. And like 80s babies, we got Tiffany's, Jasmine's, whatever, my mom's generation, they got Brenda's and Sharita's and, Lois and all of that. But her age just didn't match up with her name. Like her name, I guess I could say her fake name because it wasn't even her real name, but it was like Indigo or something like that. So like, how do you know somebody that was born in the like 60s and 70s with the name Indigo, right? So it's like, And so my cousin-in-law at this time, we would always say, we'd be like, hey, Indigo, if that's your real name. You know how they say if that's your real name. And she would be like, oh, whatever. But we would say, that can't, like, I don't know. That's just weird,
I had that girl sweating in the office, like.
Yeah, she's like, hey, they on me, And so, but we never thought anything of it, right? So payday would come and she would call out our names. Hey, okay, yeah, your birthday, you a Virgo, or you, and I'm like, okay, all right. It's not a big deal, but why are you making it a point that everybody's date of birth? Or oh yeah, I didn't know you traveled this far to come out here, and I didn't know. And I'm like, okay, yeah,
collecting data points.
Yeah, it was just like, why is she so adamant, And then she had this girl that started on the same day with her, and the girl was very quiet. She didn't really speak with her. She would kind of like, if the office was joking about something, she would laugh or something. But we would try to ask like, oh, so how do you know, and she'd be like, oh, I just know her, and we're like, okay, it was just weird all around the board. So the regional director, she goes on break one day and she doesn't come back. Okay. So that was abnormal, but I mean, again, we're taking in thousands of calls a day. So, then a couple days go by, we're like, well, maybe she's sick, So then the regional director comes in and he's like, hey, everybody, cut your phones off, cut your computers off. Let's have a meeting. So we're like, Lord, is somebody about to get fired? Because for one, he was like hardly there. He was the regional director. So he was like the Jan that comes in, every once in a while, And he's like, okay, so we go into the conference room and everybody's like, what's going on? And he's like, so yeah, Indigo was in an accident, and she hasn't come back, so we're like, oh goodness, what happened? We had to come into the conference room, like, is she okay? We about to take up donations, what's going on? And he's like, yeah, so she was in a car accident and the police got involved and she is not who she said she was. And we're like, and now me and my cousin-in-law looking like, girl,
what?
So he's like, yeah, he was like, I'll give everybody. He was like, apparently, she was on the run. She was featured on America's Most Wanted with her husband. They're running in like 4 different states. They had a $50,000 reward out for them. And now I'm mad because I'm like, I watch America's Most Wanted all the time. This was my time to shine. Like, yeah, she's over here working, and get my $50,000. So, but yeah, she was on the run for like years, and she was just changing her name, going from job to job to job. Because, and then it was also weird that when we would ask her certain stuff about the job, she didn't know. And we would be like, well, how she don't know this? And she's a supervisor, they hired her. How do we know more than her?
Right.
But, you know, people lie on their resumes all the time, you know, and things like that. So he allowed us 5 minutes to go and look everything up on the internet, because, you know, everybody knows it now.
Yeah.
He's like, y'all can look it up, you know, I'll give y'all 5-10 minutes to go look through everything. So everybody like ran back to their computers and was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy, you know. And so the end result was they did offer us a few years of credit monitoring, you know, apologize profusely. I didn't notice anything on my credit. I was young, so she probably, if she did try to take my credit, it probably didn't work. But yeah, that was the craziest thing that happened outside of transportation in that office. You know, that was just a crazy situation, and I will never forget that. And I did see the girl like years later on the train, but she had a baby with her, and she didn't really, you know, just like, hey, you know, we used to work together. And she was like, oh yeah, but she was still kind of standoffish, like, and I just, at the next stop was my stop. So, and I never saw the supervisor again. I don't know if she's still locked up with those charges. I don't know. But yes, it was crazy to go through that. But it's so many other, you know, stories. And
Tells of the broker. Tells of the broker. Guys, if you guys love this story, you have to check out her TikTok. Like, she has so many stories on her TikTok. So many stories about this. So it's so interesting.
Yes. Awesome. TikTok is my and as I want to talk about the different social media and how I use those different social media. Yeah. So TikTok is more, I can be myself. You know, I can have those conversations. I do a lot of the sounds. I use a lot of the sounds. I wish that I could talk about some of the things that happen really inside the van. Like, those stories are the stories that are like the gems. But to protect people's identity, I have a lot of my customers that follow me on TikTok too. So I try to keep it very general, you know, but so TikTok is more my intimate, you know, I can connect more with people that way. Instagram, the algorithm is just crazy, you know. So I'll just post a couple times on there just to, you know, I mainly use a lot of hashtags on Instagram because that's going to put me in front of the audience that I need, you know, that I want to get to. And then Facebook is for really my customer base, because that's more of a community, like a local community type thing. So I don't post a lot on my personal page. What I do is I have a business page on Facebook, and then I share those posts into individual groups. So it might be groups that like what's going on with Birmingham small business. I'm in a group with social workers and assisted living places, and, you know, things like that. So I share my posts into those groups to give me that, you know, to advertise that way. To encourage people to join our email list, you know, things like that. With my email list, you get early access to our calendar monthly. So you can schedule your appointment up to 30 days in advance. But my calendar fills up so quickly, which is another reason why I want to get this other vehicle. But it gives them that perk. So you, as a member of the e-newsletter, you get early access to the calendar, you know. So every social media platform is used differently. Yeah, it
has their own different purposes.
Yes, for purposes. You know, TikTok is more for, you know, just laughing and being more, giving more behind the scenes. Instagram is more advertising, just, you know, pictures, you know, visuals. And then Facebook is more for pushing people to my website and things like that. Yeah.
I see. Do you use LinkedIn at all or no LinkedIn?
So do I use
LinkedIn at all?
I use LinkedIn, but it's more of a personal, just like a
business personal kind of thing.
Yeah, just business personal. I have not been on LinkedIn for a while. But
LinkedIn is kind of spammy, honestly. I don't know about LinkedIn. Like, everybody keeps saying LinkedIn. I think it's, in my personal opinion, I think it's kind of spammy. Like, I think like it's a lot of like oversharing, like like a lot of fake things going on, like fake news and stuff like that, like fake technology.
Say, okay, well, I'm on this person's list,
Yeah, exactly.
that type person. Yeah,
There was a meme a while ago where they're like everybody on LinkedIn, what you really do is you repair phones, right? Like, oh, I repair phones, right? But then your LinkedIn bio says like, oh, I'm a specialist in like the fine arts of like, it's just too overly complex and it's just for no reason. So yeah, that's my beef with LinkedIn.
Yes. LinkedIn, I try to connect with a lot of social workers, doctors, things like that, just so I can show, but I don't use it as much as I used to, because like you said, it's a lot of fake, just wanting to be associated with different people. And another thing about being in business, you have to have that barrier. You cannot do business with everybody. You cannot be connected to everybody. I just thought of a story I'm going to tell on TikTok about connected with a business owner. And I was like, I had to end the meeting, because that is just not what CamTon Transport is about. They
have to follow the mission. They have to follow suit. Right.
Yeah, I'm very, very strategic and very particular about who I connect with. I don't even like certain things on, certain posts on Facebook, because the artificial intelligence will feed you.
Suggest that. Yes, they'll suggest that. Yeah.
I might laugh at the post and I might be like, dang, I wish I could share this, but I don't even do that, because I don't want to be associated with certain things. Yes. And that's no shade to anybody's business. It's just, you have to be very careful. And so I don't want just somebody saying, oh, I know Shari Seawright, because I don't know them for real. You never know really anybody behind social media,
Right.
Because you really have to meet people and feel their vibe and see what they're about,
Absolutely.
And I'm just not one of those people that's like, I've never been one of those people that want, oh, they're popular, so I will hang by myself. All day long before I tie myself to somebody who I'm not even sure about, and that just comes with life experience too.
Absolutely. So what does the future of CamTon look like in the near future?
The future of CamTon. Yeah. Someone asked me about a month ago, do I want to be an entrepreneur or do I want to be an industrialist? And I thought about that. And I said, you know what? And I looked it up, just to make sure that I had the meaning of industrialist correct in my head. And so an entrepreneur is someone who starts a business and manages a business and, creates an opportunity pretty much. But an industrialist is someone who is a master of the industry. And so with that being said, the future of CamTon is to not only provide transportation in the Birmingham area, is to provide transportation throughout Alabama. It is to provide transportation outside of Alabama. I want to get into trucking. I want to get into maybe an ambulance, company. I want to do so many things. I'm seeing CamTon as a national name.
So it would be an umbrella, like the umbrella company.
Yes, and I see 18-wheelers, and I'm like, one day it's going to say CamTon Transport.
So would it be like CamTon Transport and then CamTon NEMT, CamTon like EMS, CamTon Trucking, and like different branches?
Yes. So I want to take over the transportation industry.
What's the next sector that you're going to take over after NEMT? Is it directly to trucking? Is it to, because taxi is a thing too. You're kind of already doing that, right? Like, transporting to and from like shopping centers and work, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, so would it be CamTon Taxi, CamTon NEMT?
I don't know about taxi, but I'm definitely interested in ambulance service.
Okay.
Ultimately, I would like to be a broker myself, honestly.
That's awesome.
I would love to combine with, and I already talked with other providers, and I'm like, listen, if we all build our companies up, and 10 years down the line, we all say, well, we're going to put in $25,000 a piece or $50,000 a piece, however much it needs, and we create and we become our own broker. I'm all for that. I dream big.
Yeah.
I dream big, and I do that because I was told that because of the way my life was going when I was younger, that I wouldn't do anything but be cleaning toilets. Someone literally told me that. Someone very close to me told me that. And I was young when they told me that. So I started to believe that. And so I said, well, if that's all I'm going to be doing, what's the point of doing good in school? You know, what's the point of trying to overachieve? You know, when I started to get my tattoos, you know, they were like, you can't get a good job. Nobody's going to hire you. But in my head, I've always been like, I don't want to work for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been around. My mother will tell you, I done stressed her out. I ride my own beat. Okay. So with that being said, when I said that I'm not the example, I'm the inspiration, because I would not say follow the steps that I took. Okay. I'm very proud of myself and how I've succeeded in life, even from raising my son. That is my biggest and best accomplishment to date, regardless of how big CamTon gets. My son is my pride and joy. But I'm an inspiration, because if anybody, and I always tell people, don't overthink it. If I can do it, you can do it. If you're a single parent, you can do it. If you don't have any money, you can do it. Small fact, I quit my job to start this business. That's how I ended up doing DoorDash, because I jumped out there and I was like, wait a minute, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. You know. So, you know, if you don't have money, you can do it. If you don't have the resources, you can do it. If you don't have the education, I have a high school diploma. I've been to college, but I didn't finish, you know. But if you don't have the education, you can do it. If you feel like you just like your life, and this is one of my stories that I'm very transparent about who I am, because I'm proud of who I am. But 5 years ago, I did not think that I would be in this position right here. And I made a conscious decision to change my life and change the people. I moved from Washington, D.C. to Alabama. And it was so crazy, because one of my friends, they were like, so is everything okay? Are you in witness protection? I'm like, no, I'm not in witness protection. But yeah, I remember when I was in the middle of moving and I got pulled over, and the officer was like, license and registration. I gave him my license, and he said, oh, that's why. He said, well, I'm not going to give you a ticket today, but just to let you know, we don't drive like that down here. And I was like, okay, you know. And he was like, but can I ask you, what in the world made you move from DC to Alabama? But my family, my parents moved here, and they both started having some health issues, so I moved to be closer to them. But yeah, I completely changed my life. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. You know, you just have to put your mind to it, and you have to. I've gotten, you know, don't try to fit into a box. Don't try to be that ultimate entrepreneur. Be yourself. Be who you are, because that's what people look for. On the different, you know, Facebook, everybody's, oh, you know, everybody's perfect. You know, nobody has any problems unless you know, I do follow people that got drama going on. So, you know, that's what I do when I'm up 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm reading them 43 comments. Like, what's going on? But, you know, and then Instagram, you know, you have that flashy life. Everybody is, you know, oh, can I talk about this? Don't fall for the influencers that are selling a lifestyle and not actually what they are selling.
Exactly.
Do not fall for that, because they're showing you life on the beach. They're showing you their cars. They're showing you, you know, all these things, but you sell credit, or you sell, and I'm not even gonna say credit. I'm gonna say you sell scarves, but you showing me the beach and how you get to go out and eat every day and all this. What does that have to do with scarves? They're playing with your mind. Now that's manipulation, because they're getting you. They know that this is what people want, and they're like, oh, in order to get this, you need to buy my $1,500 course on Googleable information. You know,
absolutely.
They're not really giving you any information, and that's how they're making their $3,000 a week, because they're charging 6 people $500 to get their book.
Yeah.
You know, so that just be careful about that. but yeah, so Instagram is flashy, but TikTok I love, because you got people that wake up and they have a word with the white stuff in their eyes in the morning. You know, they, you know,
it's very candid. TikTok is very candid.
Very candid.
You feel actually close with that individual, whoever's posting.
You feel like you know this person. You feel like you know, and
amazing.
And you can just be more open, you know, and you can share more information, and it's more relatable. So that's how you break those, you know, those different things up. But you have to be careful. Social media, if you're not careful, you can get caught up in that. And I take a break. I do have to take a break. And a lot of people say, no, you have to post every day. And I don't know if you noticed, but when you're sitting around on Christmas and you scrolling Instagram and you still see people selling flat tummy tea and they selling all these things, and it's like, dang, you can't even go and enjoy your time with your family because you have this contract with this company that doesn't even give you the day off the Christmas. You know, you still got to say, oh, we're having Christmas time and we're using, I made these muffins with this pan, you know, and it's like, you have to take a break. That's too much. I never want to be on that level. You know, I promote people now on Facebook and Instagram. I promote other businesses big time. You know, I want everybody to get their shine. But I don't charge for that. A lot of people say, oh, if you want to be in my store, you got to pay this. I don't want to do that. You know.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that.
Yeah. Social media can be a lot. And so I don't believe in posting every day, all day. You know, if you know your customer, you know where to find them. For me, like I said, I gave a card to somebody. I'm in the parking lots and at doctor's offices and hospitals, you know. Absolutely. I'm door dashing, but I'm giving out my cards. You know, I'm doing that hand in hand. I'm going into the doctor's offices and I'm introducing myself. That's what works for me.
You're present.
I'm at the light with the lettering on my van, and it took me a while to get used to because I'd be like, why is everybody looking at the card? And I'm like, oh, duh. I got the lettering on my van. They're trying to look for my information, you know. And a lot of people will call and they'll say, oh, I saw your van on 65, or I saw you picking up somebody, a CFO from a hospital here. Call me. He said, I saw your van outside and I wanted to know how can we get with you to provide hospital discharges. I mean, that's my type of networking.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the computer all day. You know, I'm a very personable person.
Yeah.
I will always believe in knocking on doors and shaking hands and hitting the pavement.
That also will separate you from competitors, right? Like, you know, by being there, being present.
Yes.
So I was actually going to ask you, so you do consulting also, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So what other things are you into, right? That you got going on? So you do consulting and
with the consulting. The consulting part I came up because it came apart. Remember I told you my first ride was October of 2020. But I did not have consistent rides. And when 2021 came around, I said, okay, I got to do something. I got to make this work, you know? So what am I going to do to grow my business at where it is right now? And so 3 things stood out to me that other business owners don't have. They don't have business etiquette. They don't know how to strategically network. And they don't know how to market effectively. So Blue Diamond Consulting focuses on that part alone. And then what I do is, as far as the NEMT, I created a program specifically to show you how to market, how to strategically network, how to market, and how to start your NEMT and use business etiquette to grow your business. Okay. So I start with I have people who they haven't even filed with the Secretary of State yet. So I can literally take you from the beginning stages of getting your paperwork filed, your EIN, all the way through to your insurance providers and getting on the road. Or if you say, okay, well, what is business etiquette? You know, how can I, you have people jump in your inbox without even saying hello.
Yeah.
They're like, I need a ride. Okay, good morning. How you doing? What's going on? Or someone called me one time and they said, you know what? I've called 6 companies and you're the only one that had a voicemail. Things like that people don't think about because they're just like, I'm in here to make money.
Yes.
Another tidbit. On my first job, my boss told me never get into business for money alone. You will forever be chasing the money.
Yes.
Impact over income. Okay. And so if you're just chasing the money, you're not thinking about these things. You're not thinking about how you present yourself, how to introduce yourself, how when you're at a networking event, how to move throughout the room. Okay, you get a card, then what do you do? What do you want that person to get on your card? Get what's on your card? You know, are you just giving a card? Oh, here's my card, you know, and walking away? Or are you actually starting a conversation? I have a friend that owns a spa, you know, and so when we're out, one of us, she'll start a conversation, you know, or I'll start, and I'll say, oh, I like your lashes, you know, and, you know, women, we're all like, oh, thank you, you know, I like your shoes, you know, it's very easy to start a conversation with women, you know, but I say, I like your lashes. You know, she has a lash place, you know, here's her card, you know, maybe you guys should talk, you should go over there. So it's just knowing how to, and, you know, and I said, this is my friend, you know, and she owns, and do you live in this area? Do you live in that area? You know, I was on the phone with her last week, and she saw a lady crossing the street, and she was like, you know, the lady was like, she said, ma'am, do you need some help? And she said, oh no, I got it. And she said, no, I'm gonna help you across the street. But she said, but let me give you my friend's card. She can take you, you know, she was grocery shopping. She, you know, just little things like that can really put you in rooms, you know.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's important to have someone, an entrepreneur friend, you know, that you can talk to, you can relate to. But yes, that's what the consultant is about. Is business etiquette, strategically networking, and effective marketing. And then we go into marketing on social
opportunity. Media.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. We break all of that down in that.
Wow, sounds like a lot of knowledge, So you guys, like, if you guys are interested in her consulting, I definitely think you guys should definitely take a look at her website. We're going to leave a link in the description below to her consulting and more information about, you know, her business. And you guys are going to definitely love that. All right.
Yes.
So where can people connect with you? Like, what's the place to connect with you?
Okay. So CamTon Transport, CamTon Transport LLC on Facebook and Instagram, and just CamTon Transport on TikTok.
Okay.
The website is CamTonTransportLLC.com. Everything, just remember CamTon Transport, and not even Google. Like, if you type in CamTon Transport on Google, everything will come up. But that's the easiest way to get in contact with me. If you're interested in consulting, I'm trying to bring my link up because I don't know it by heart, but
it's okay. We'll put a link in. Link in the description for you.
If you follow me on TikTok, the link is in my bio, and it is working. I had to go in and change some settings or something like that. Yeah. So it is working. Awesome. But that's the best way. You can get a 30-minute phone call for free just to figure out where you are.
What? Yes. You can't beat it.
That's free. Yes. And we can figure out where you are, what you need help on. And then we can go from there. But also with Blue Diamond Consulting, I connect people with other resources. So I have people who do logos, attorneys, business plans, insurance providers, t-shirts, branding, just all these types of things. And they are 98% Black-owned businesses. So I'm helping our community still prosper in a way of sharing our resources. The resources are out there, people. The resources are out there. Use your resources. I think that's the main thing that I bought from the social work field. Use your resources. They're not going to come to you. You might have to look some things up, but with Blue Diamond Consulting, I can point you in that direction. You know, I have people in different price ranges. I have people in different states. I have a list of providers in each state. So even if you're not in Alabama, which I specifically work with, I know people in California, North Carolina, South Carolina, Philly, Florida, Louisiana that I can connect you with. Texas is a big one too, that I can connect people with and to get you the specific information that you need.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You guys, I hope you really enjoyed this interview. I've learned so much. I learned so much. And I'm just really grateful to have this opportunity to sit down and speak with you, Shari.
Yeah.
Like, I hope you all, like, you know, just really took in what she said, you know, because there was a lot of knowledge in this interview. Drop a comment below. Let us know what you think, you know.
Yes. And we can come back.
Absolutely. We would love to hear from you all.
We can come back and we can and answer those questions. Yes, I really love it. Thank you.
Yes. So without further ado, you guys, take care. See you on the next one.